The road unspools like a black ribbon under the moonless sky. Just another lonely highway, another endless night. Inside the cab of my 18-wheeler, the only light came from the dashboard and the faint, sickly green glow of the old AM radio. The silence out here, it's a heavy thing. It presses in on you. So I always keep the radio on, even if it's just static. It's a kind of company, I guess. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel, eyes gritty from staring into the fog that clung to the asphalt. Just a few more hours to Memphis. I fiddled with the dial, the knob slick with condensation. The static crackled and hissed, a mechanical serpent whispering in the dark. I was just looking for a signal, any signal. A talk show, some late-night gospel, anything to cut through the monotony. Then, through the electric snow, a voice emerged. It was calm, measured, almost soothing. A man's voice, deep and resonant. And we remember Margaret and Albright, aged 87, of Willow Creek, the voice said. She passed peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by her loving family. Margaret was known for her prize-winning roses and her unwavering kindness. She will be dearly missed. An obituary reading. Odd for this time of night, but not unheard of on small-town stations. I kept listening, my thumb hovering over the dial. The host's voice had a hypnotic quality. Next, we commemorate the life of Daniel Peterson, aged 42. The voice continued, its placid tone unchanged. Mr. Peterson, a resident of Pine Ridge, met an untimely end following a misunderstanding at the old paper mill. Authorities note the curious absence of his left shoe. A peculiar detail for a peculiar man. A chill, unrelated to the cab's weak heater, traced a line down my spine. The old paper mill, I'd passed the turnoff for Pine Ridge about an hour ago. The detail about the shoe was unsettling. It felt too specific, too macabre for a public broadcast. The static seemed to swell for a moment, then receded as the host went on. Our thoughts are also with the family of Sarah Jenkins, age 29, the voice intoned. A tragic accident on Interstate 40, near mile marker 112. It appears Ms. Jenkins swerved to avoid a deer, only to lose control of her sedan. First responders were struck by the serene smile on her face, as if she had welcomed the final impact. My heart hammered against my ribs. Mile marker 112. I'd driven past that exact spot not 20 minutes ago. I remembered seeing the flashing lights of an ambulance and a police car, the twisted metal of a small blue sedan glinting in the strobing colors. A deer. They said it was a deer. But the smile, how could he know that? How could this broadcast be so current, so detailed? I gripped the wheel tighter, my gaze darting from the empty road to the glowing radio dial. This had to be some kind of sick joke. Maybe a prank show. But the host's voice was devoid of any humor, any irony. It was as steady and dispassionate as a tombstone. And now the voice said, a slight pause hanging in the air. We turn our attention to a traveler on the lonely stretch of Highway 78. A truck driver, weary from a long haul, his eyes heavy with the miles. My blood ran cold. Highway 78. That's where I was. My hands started to tremble. This couldn't be real. It was the exhaustion, the coffee, the isolation playing tricks on my mind. He drives a rig that has seen better days, the voice continued, its calm delivery becoming a source of pure terror. A Peterbilt, once a proud red, now faded and chipped. The chrome in the grill is pitted with rust, and the passenger side headlight flickers, casting a weak, jaundiced eye upon the fog. I slammed on the brakes. The truck groaned and shuddered, tires screeching against the wet pavement as it jackknifed slightly before coming to a halt in the middle of the deserted highway. My breath came in ragged gasps. I leaned out the window, my heart pounding, and looked at my own headlight. The passenger side light was flickering, just as he'd said. A weak, sickly yellow pulse in the dense fog. Panic seized me. I twisted the radio dial frantically, trying to find another station, anything else. But there was nothing. Only the escalating hiss of static and, beneath it, that terrible, calm voice as if it were broadcasting from inside my own skull. In his cab, the voice narrated, "The air is thick with the scent of stale coffee and cheap cigars." A worn photograph of a smiling woman and a young boy is tucked into the sun visor. He reaches for it now, his hand shaking, seeking a comfort that is no longer available to him. My hand, moving of its own accord, flew to the sun visor. My fingers closed around the familiar, worn edges of the photo. My wife, Sarah. My son, Leo. The smiles, once a source of strength, now looked like a farewell. A wave of nausea washed over me. I ripped the photo from the visor and threw it onto the passenger seat, as if severing the connection could somehow change the script. The radio static grew louder, crackling with an almost malevolent energy. He fights it, the voice observed with detached interest. He believes he has a choice. A futile struggle against a narrative already written. He considers turning back, abandoning his haul, fleeing into the night. But the road only goes one way. His destination is set. My mind raced. I could turn around. I could pull over and wait for dawn. I could smash the radio. I wasn't a puppet. I had control. His name, the voice paused, and in that silence, I heard the universe hold its breath, this Jack Murdoch. Aged 5'3", not a good man. A devoted father. But his time is at an end. My own name. He said my name. A strangled cry escaped my lips. I grabbed the radio, my fingers digging into the cheap plastic, and tore it from the dashboard. Wires sparked, and the green light died, plunging the cab into near total darkness. For a moment, there was blessed silence, broken only by my own ragged breathing and the frantic drumming of my heart. I had done it. I had cut him off. A shaky laugh bubbled up in my throat. It was over, a prank, a hallucination. Then the static returned. It wasn't coming from the broken radio. It was coming from everywhere. From the vents, from the speakers I hadn't torn out, from the very air in the cab. And through the static, the voice, now seeming to echo from all around me. As the driver sits frozen in terror, the voice boomed, no longer calm but filled with a grand, final finality. He fails to notice the pair of headlights approaching from behind. Growing brighter and brighter, moving at an impossible speed. My eyes shot to the side mirror. 2 pinpricks of light, far in the distance. They swelled rapidly to blazing suns burning through the fog, consuming the darkness behind me. They weren't from a car or a truck. They were too big, too bright, too fast. He will not feel the impact, the voice declared over the roar of the approaching lights and the deafening static. There will be only a brilliant flash of light, a symphony of rending metal, and then silence. A fitting end for a lonely traveler on a lonely road. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles cracking. My entire body was rigid with fear. I couldn't move. I could only watch in the mirror as my fate, broadcast in terrifying detail, rushed up to meet me. The lights filled the mirror, blinding me. The static screamed. The voice spoke its final words. We remember Jack Murdoch. Then, a brilliant flash of light and silence.